educated person obviously is someone who speaks non-sexist Latin and someone who enjoys a good whipping every now and then. And when we stood up to present this to the class, there were a few laughs, and everyone had a bit of a joke, but the thing was taken seriously. The poster went up around the campus as proof that we had done some work that spell for everyone to read. I felt like the teachers were merely facilitators for whatever it was that was in our heads about the educated person. So there was no sense of the older, wiser, experienced teacher tutoring us, teaching us, leading us into the way of education.
Or imparting objective knowledge.
Quite.
So that this view that you put in the poster of the educated person as someone who spoke non-sexist Latin and enjoyed a regular whipping was deemed to be on a par with all the other views of the educated person in other posters.
Well, yeah, that was the message we were getting.
And another tale out of school from former Lincoln University economics lecturer Rodney Hyde.
Starting out as a lecturer, I went into a training program at the university, and it was very, very good. And as part of that training program, I got to present a mock lecture to faculty colleagues, and they were to criticise me and to say where I was going wrong. And I very diligently prepared a long lecture and had everything right. And I gave this lecture, and at the end of it, my colleagues, my fellow professors, were to comment. And I expected to hear things like, oh, well, you spoke too fast, or you had your hands in your pockets. I got none of that. The criticism that I got was that I'd talked about a farmer, and I'd said he, not he/she. And of course I didn't think this was such a serious sin in terms of the context of giving a practice lecture, but it was the only criticism I got, and the criticism went on for 20 minutes about why I should be more sensitive to the female students. And I, in defence of myself, said, well, surely, it's not that bad of sin. The comment was made, well, if you said that in a class, I would recommend that all the students in your lecture get up and walk out. And of course, this is from a professor. I was horrified. And indeed, I was nervous for a couple of months before, this was the summer, before giving a lecture, because I was sure in my very first lecture I would say he and not he/she, and I'd just see 300 students disappear out of the lecture room. Of course, students aren't that silly.
Egotistical worldview.
A man's point of view.
Member of the mutant albino genetic recessive global minority.
White.
Arbitrary rules of literary procedure subservient to a sexist political agenda.
Grammar.
Metabolically different.
Dead.
Morally different.
Evil.
Non-traditional shopper.
Shoplifter.
Person with difficult to meet needs.
Serial killer.
Smellism.
Dislike of B.O.
Scentism.
The wearing of perfume or aftershave.
Racist, ageist, sexist music.
Old Man River.
Monocultural advantage belonging to white middle-class males.
Rights.
If political correctness has its roots in postmodern philosophy and its philosophical precursors, then it follows that any antidote to it must also ultimately be philosophical. The final word to philosophy professor Gary Hull.
This malignancy, which it is in my opinion, this disease is caused by a corrupt philosophy. So the only way for the person on the street or any individual to understand this movement is to understand the philosophy that gave rise to it. So at least they should try to identify something about the nature of emotionalism or of subjectivism or of the idea in politics of collectivism. Read something about Immanuel Kant and his ideas and his influence on the 20th century Western culture, and then find a philosophy that will combat all these bad philosophic ideas at their root. And there are really only two sources of this. There are only two individuals, two philosophers in history who have defended reason, objectivity, and individual rights, and that is the Greek philosopher Aristotle and the 20th century philosopher novelist Ayn Rand.
This program was compiled by me, Lindsay Perigo, and Deborah Coddington. The editorial opinions expressed therein were ours and not those of World Service New Zealand. We would like to express our appreciation to Henry Beard and Christopher Surf, tongue-in-cheek authors of the official politically correct dictionary and handbook, dedicated to the former Donna Ellen Cooperman, who, after a courageous year-long battle through the New York state court system, won the right to be known as Donna Ellen Cooper Person.